Okay, so in this video, we're going to go over an introduction to trigonometry. Yeah, so what we're going to basically focus our attention on in this video is using the sine rule as well as the cosine rule, helping us to find the angles as well as the sides. It's either you're given the sides to find the angles, or you're given the angles to find the sides, and depends whether you're talking about the sine rule or the cosine rule. Okay, so the sine rule and the cosine rule are a bit different, yeah, but not too different, but different. Just depends on what you are given, and yeah, depends on the nature of the question that you are given. It's up to you to tell uh, whether you're going to use sine rule or you're going to use cosine rule. So us understanding how cosine rule is different from sine rule is going to help us, it's going to make our work simple in terms of our approach to questions. But of course, the similarity between the two is that they just both deal with distance and angles. Yeah. Okay, so if we start with sine rule, let's say you're given this triangle. Okay, not necessarily the right angle triangle. Okay. Right, so I'll try to use letters that are very close to us. We use A here. Okay, we can use B here. Okay, we can use C here. So meaning what we have here is a small c. Here what we have here is small letter A, and what we have here is what? Small letter B. So what we need to understand in this case is that, of course, let's say we are talking about the sine rule. Okay, we're talking about the sine rule. What we need to take into consideration is that when you look at this b here, this small b that we have here is like exactly opposite to what? To the capital letter B there. When you look at A, is opposite to that. When you look at C, it's just opposite to that. So what this basically means is that this angle at capital letter B, it corresponds to what? This small b, and this small b is just representing what? The side. Okay, which means the length from A to what? To C. That's what it means. So it's the same applies to what? To this angle here. This angle is corresponding to what? This A here, this small a, which is just a distance from what? From C to B, or B to C. One and the same. So same goes for this one here. The side is what? Is this one here. So you should always keep in mind to say the side is just exactly opposite to what? To the angle that you have. Okay, so when you're talking about the sine rule tells us to say our a, our small a, okay. So, and please keep in mind, these can be any other letters. We just have to understand what is happening, but you can replace with any letters of your choice. But all we want is to understand the concept. I mean, like what is happening and stuff. Yeah. So let's say what cosine rule says. It says that our a divided by sine A. That's our sine rule. Divided by sine A is equals to what? Our B divided by what? Sine B here. So keep in mind to say here we are not allowed to say B divide by sine small letter b. No. When you put small letter in this case, what we mean is that this is a side. So we should indicate the angle using a capital letter, then indicate the side using a small letter. Then this is also equals to what? C. Okay, say C here over what? Sine C, like that. So even if you see it somewhere, or maybe you'd want to try it out, you put the angle on the numerator, then you put the side on the denominator. You say sine B here over B is equals to sine C over what? Over C. It's still one and the same thing. Okay, still one and the same thing there. So now, having said this, how do we get to know where the sine rule applies? Where does it come in the picture? How does it help us to find whatever that we want to find? So when you look at this, it's not sometimes maybe you're given a side, maybe one side and two angles. So let's say if you're given side C and you're also given side what? Side A. You are given this side and you're also given this side. Then maybe you are given what? You are given let's say angle A as well. Let me say you're given sine A as well, meaning you can find the angle that is at what? That is at C, and the angle that is at C to help you to find the angle that is what? That is at B as well. Okay, so what this basically means is that it can be a situation whereby you are given the side C and you're also given side A, then you're given sine, maybe sine C, oh no, let's sine C. Let's say you're given sine B. This can't work out. It's more like you have this side here, okay? This angle here you don't have. The angle at this part you don't have. Then let's say again you have this side here, which is what? Which is A. But the angle here you don't have. You only have this angle. But when you look at our formulas, they work. It's more like you have the side here. You have the side and you have the angle. You have the side and you have the corresponding angle. It can be a situation whereby you have A over sine A is equals to, maybe you say maybe side C over sine B. That one can't work out. So it's the sine rule basically works when you have two sides with one angle, and that angle should belong to what? One of the sides that you have. So in this case, if you have side A and side C, meaning this the angle that you need to have for you to do the calculation is that the angle either needs to be side A or what? Or sine C. Then we are good to go. Okay, and sometimes again, let's say it's not always that you are only given two sides and an angle belonging to one of the sides. Sometimes you're given two angles with one side, then they're looking for another side. So let's say you're given sine C and what? And sine A. Then you have what? You have side C. Then you're looking for what? You're looking for side A. This one also works out using the same formulas there. So that's how the sine rule works. It's either you have two angles like this angle and that angle, then you have one side, and you always keep in mind to say that side should belong to one of the angles, of which in this case our C belongs to what? Sine C there. It can't happen whereby you have sine C and sine A, then they you have been given small letter B, then they want you to find A. It can't work out like that. So when you look at the nature of the question, when you look at how the values that you have been given on the question, it's very easy to tell, to say, oh, okay, here I think I'm using sine rule, or here maybe I'm using cosine rule. Okay, so I believe that's all about sine rule. We'll go to cosine rule. So for cosine rule, it's a bit different. Just try to erase this part. So we'll really see the difference between the two, such that we'll be able to, our work is going to be much easier as we solve questions. Okay. Yes, so we have that triangle there. Okay, like that. Just try to connect that part. Okay, let's say we have our A here, we have our B, we have our C here. All the same, we have what? We have our A here. Sorry, not really A, but we have our small c, we have our A here, we have our B here. Okay, so this one now is more like when you have this is when you are using the cosine rule. So the cosine rule formula, remember to say for the sine rule, we're talking about having two sides, either having two sides with one angle, and that angle should belong to one of those sides, or we have two angles with one side, that side should belong to one of those angles that you have. Then you find whatever that is needed to be found. But for cosine rule, it's a bit different. So according to the formula for cosine rule, what we have here is that we are going to have a squared will be equals to what? B squared plus what? Plus c squared plus what? 2bc cos what? Cos a. Okay, so what it basically means here is that I can have the angle for a here. I can have the angle for a here. Then I have distance b. I have distance what? C. Then I'll be able to find what? The distance a. Of which, like, it's more like a bit opposite. Remember to say for sine rule, if you have side C and side B, meaning the angle that you need to have should be either should be maybe something like of course sine should be maybe either sine C or what? Sine B. But in this case, we are saying in the presence of these two sides, side C and side B, we can have a different angle, which is what? Which is A. In this case, we are talking about what? We're talking about cosine. Okay, we're using cos in this case. So this formula that we have here, we can manipulate it. We can change it. Here where there is A, it can be B. It can be B squared is equals to what? Meaning where there was B to be what? A squared plus C squared. Of course here, just some correction. Supposed to be minus. All right. So we say minus what? 2ac cos what? Cos the cos of this side that we have, meaning to be cos b. So you can do the same thing again when it comes to c as well. So here what you can have is you can have c squared is equals to what? B squared plus a squared minus 2ba cos what? Cos c. So any of these formulas is going to help you do what? Find the values that you need to find. Okay, and once again, it's not always when you are given the angle to find the side. Sometimes you're given the side. Let's say you don't have this angle. Just try to erase that part. Okay, so now let's say here we know to say we have side C. Here we have what? Side B. So now let's say we have all of these. We have the value here, we have a value here, we have a value here. Then you want to find, let's say they want you to find any of these angles. And remember to say when you have such a setup, you can either find angle B, A, or C. It's just a matter of making the angle that you're looking for the subject of what? Of the formula. So we'll try to pick one here and make the subject of the formula. I'll pick the first one. You can use these others as examples and try out, of course, in reference to the one that I'm going to use as an example. Okay, so the first one is a squared is equals to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos what? Cos a. So I want to make cos a the subject of the what? Of the formula here. Okay, so there are two ways you can do it. You can go about it. You can either multiply the negative, like you can add a negative of this on this side and on this side, or you can pick this part and add it this side and add it on the other side. It's up to you. You're still going to get the same thing. Okay, so let me say I add 2bc, okay, cos a on this side, on my right hand side. I also add the same one on what? On my left hand side. Okay, right, so here we're going to have 2bc cos a plus a there. So meaning here these are going to subtract. You're going to get that. So here what you have is that this a we can also add, we can also subtract it from this side. We take it on the other side. So meaning this will be what? 2bc cos what? Cos a will be equals to what? B squared plus what? C squared. Remember to say when this one is on the other side, should be what? Negative. Okay, So here, what are we going to have? What we want is cos A, not 2bc cos A. So you can divide both sides by what? 2bc. 2bc like that. So that can go and that can go. So meaning cos A is equals to what? B squared plus what? C squared minus A squared divided by what? 2bc. Right. So that's how we get to derive the formulas when it comes to, we're talking about the sine rule, the cosine rule. So once again, just a matter of knowing what you have and knowing how to use it. For example, if you look at this one, it can't work out because it can't work out if I'm to use sine rule, because sine rule has to have an angle. You can't just have sides alone. Okay, sine rule either has two angles with one side or two sides with one angles. I mean with one angle. But for cosine rule, you can have three sides. You're still going to have what? You're still going to get you are still going to get the angle that you're looking for. And again, let's say you only have side C and side B. Does that really qualify to say, I mean side C and side B, does that really qualify that you're going to get, I mean you're going to use sine rule? The answer is no. If the angle is what? The angle that you have is A. Remember to say sine only deals with, like, if you have two sides, that angle that you have should be for one of the sides. But in this case, remember to say we have side C, we have side B, and you have what? Angle A, of which doesn't work for sine rule. This can only work for what? For cosine rule. Yeah. So that's all from this video. In the next video, we'll do some practice questions. We put into application the what we have managed to cover in this video. Yeah, thank you for watching.